Peace in the body. What is it and how do we experience it? This is the question Ren and Fallon explore in Season 3 of Mujeres Co-Labor for Peace.
When it comes to healing and you're stuck in healing, where can we invite in that energetic peace?
Bringing you expert advice in healing from a host of practices and practitioners, Ren and Fallon seek to increase complete wellness and lasting peace, one insight at a time. Hey, hello, and welcome to the show. I'm your host, Ren Ribeiro, back with our guest, Angelica Lopez of Mitra, Healing Centered Yoga. And again, sending wellness thoughts to our host, Fallon Stone, and complete wellness and lasting peace to all of you. This is Season 3, Peace in the Body of Mujeres Co-Labor for Peace, MC4P. And we are going to talk a little bit more about peace in the body today with Angelica Lopez. So we covered hypnagogic states and yoga nidra and some of the amazing work that you do out in the world, some of your aspirations in the last episode. But we just kind of scratched the surface of what the transformation looks like, the transformation like that you and I both were talking about pre-yoga to, you know, to having it be a core part of our lives. So maybe talk for a minute, like, how is it that you guide folks into yoga, to trust the process, to trust the breath, to trust their own body? You know, you are very artful with that. And I'm wondering if you want to share a little bit of, you don't have to give away the secret sauce, but a little bit about what you do to really help folks get into that trusting space and to embrace yoga.
That's a really good question. It's kind of tricky, and honestly, it's been a learning curve, I'll say, because there's plenty of reasons why people don't feel like it's for them. Sort of like we were talking about in the last episode, it is now sort of dominated by the white community, and so people feel like it's not for them if they're a person of color, which is crazy because it was developed by people of color. So it's just terrible how much our culture has really shifted what this practice is. It also just looks like a physical fitness practice. So I remember someone saying to me, like, I don't need to fold myself into a pretzel to heal. And I was like, you're right. That's not what we're doing here today. And so it's really just, I know it's kind of cliche to say as a yoga teacher, but meeting people where they're at. You know, if people are not comfortable with getting on the floor, I'm not going to make them. We're going to do a chair practice instead. And really just being aware of who's in the room. I've taken so many trauma-informed series, and I think so many people are hoping for like a checklist, but really the practice of yoga is to be present with what is, right? And so as a yoga teacher, that's our job. The best way to be trauma-informed is to be present with who's in the room. And like, of course, I always go in with a plan. I always have my little book and my little theme that I want to talk about. But if I'm realizing, oh, that person's got knee issues, well, then we have to change things. And so again, it's being aware of who's in front of you, and again, making sure you offer that agency and you really keep going back to that. I can't tell you how many times, like in teaching a class, I'll say something like, are you doing this because you want to be doing this or because I'm telling you to do this? And then I'll hear everybody chuckle because they're doing it because I'm telling them to.
Well, I have to correct you. You never, well, I don't know about never, but you invite people to do things. And you don't tell, which is, I think, one of your special gifts, is that you really know how to welcome and invite people into something. But we are programmed to just want to please you and want to please our teachers. And so, like, the agility that you have, the flexibility to be able to adapt and respond to who's in the room is huge. I took a yoga teacher training, 2 of them actually. One was 14 months and one was a shorter thing. And I know how complicated that is to be able to like have a plan and then completely shift it based on who's in the room. So amazing. And you also mentioned, I heard you talk about people wanting a checklist, and instantly that makes me think of how colonized our minds are. It is, capitalism extraordinaire on steroids, whatever. It's so extractive. It's like, I call it internal gaslighting, because we have taken the consumerism, the box or the lane that the corporate giants want us to be in, and we're just putting ourselves there. We're staying there. We're not reaching out and trusting the invitations that might be in our periphery. And so you going all these places and just showing up week after week, day after day, and with those invitations, I don't know how many times it takes people to really like trust, but you're just there, like a drum beat, like steady, and being like, I'm still here, I'm still here. You ready now? You ready now? Like, that's how I feel and how I'm seeing it, because I did go to your Holyoke class and I loved that, and I that community, and I just want to keep taking classes from you.
Oh, thank you. I hope you do. I feel like there's a question in there.
Well, there was something about like this decolonizing the mind in the checklist. But.
Oh yeah. The decolonizing the mind, I think, is such a difficult practice, and again, in terms of finding peace in the body, like that is like one of the hardest things we'll have to try to do, I think, in terms of finding peace in the body, because whether you've been through a traumatic experience or not, like society is built to tell you that you're flawed.
Yeah.
Because it's the only way to convince you that you need to buy all these other things. And there is a wonderful quote or speech by James Baldwin. It's like the integrity of the artist or something like that. And basically he's saying, like, as you try to resist those tides, like because you're a writer or an artist or whatever, but really he means like anybody who does any like heart work.
Creating.
Is that, everybody's going to tell you, like, what are you doing? Like, why don't you get a real job? Why, like, shouldn't you, like, I'm 36, why don't I have kids? Like all of that sort of stuff. And
the box, right?
Yeah,
that lane,
it's
like
that
this
box.
society wants, our parents want, because that's what's best for,
right.
maybe not.
So they say, right? But it's like that doesn't respond, like those boxes don't shift or respond to the society around us. So like, yeah, I don't have a house at 36 because the housing market's insane, like that is not a personal flaw. And I think that's the key to that decolonization, is like the system is flawed and it is designed to make you feel like it's your fault. But it is not on the individual. It is on the government to change that system.
Right.
The society to change the system. And even the idea of like a nonprofit, right? Like I work a lot with nonprofits. I love nonprofits. I truly, truly admire everyone that works there. But the concept of a nonprofit is to kind of take the guilt again off of the system, because the system funds the nonprofit, which means like you, the individual, needs to go find the resources from the nonprofit, and the government did their job because they funded it, as opposed to just providing the resources for everybody.
Instead of having more than 50% of all of our taxes go to military,
right?
And all the things that are happening around the world right now are. We are so complicit in that, and it's really hard to not buy that you're flawed story when you feel like, what are my options?
Right.
Yeah. And so you mentioned in the last episode you're working on the micro level. And that micro level, I think, is for me where this whole dialogue, internal dialogue happens. It's really small. And when there's insight and there's like new awakenings, or even like something that I might have thought of many years ago, if I come back to it like that spiral staircase, to come to that same point or same thought, it's like it's a springboard or an opening or just like a like possibilities just are just so much expanded when that clarity happens. And we talked about the fear just kind of like fading into the background because the rootedness of the light and the micro, the work internally to stay in love with ourselves, in our heart space, in our body, and in the yoga practice, isn't that like foundation, or one of?
Yeah. The foundation is really to end suffering, and again, if you know that you are not just this body, and that you are not, and that you are a natural animal, you can sort of try to remember that these systems are the unnatural thing around us. You know what I mean? I feel like
It's
my
not
thoughts
buy
go
into
so
it.
fast.
And
Yeah,
not buy into it.
right, and not buy. And but I do feel like it's important to name that it's not like a flip of a switch, right? Like it's not like you start practicing yoga or whatever, and then you're like, oh, I feel great, and forget society. It is a constant, daily, hourly practice of just constantly. You know, I think I talked to you before this started. I was nervous to come here because I was listening to your other podcasts, and I was like, oh, they're so knowledgeable about, and like deeply, richly knowledgeable about all of these different things, and like, what do I know? You know, I'm just kind of over in this little corner. And I think, and again, so it's that constant practice of like, I know that I have something of value because I exist.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
And
I'll just say that you might be over in a corner, but you are so deep into that. You are practicing and knowing and so knowledgeable about yoga to such an extent that I certainly couldn't hold, and you hold it for others to come. So it's like broad and deep, and I'm more broad. Hey, broad. And you were just like so rooted and deep into all the nuances and the beauty of the yoga practice in all its ways, and how it can blossom in different ways. And like I was just saying, like so flexible with who's there, and that's because you are so deep into it. And I just, really grateful that you do what you do. And like I've been doing yoga daily for so many years, but it's really just a sun salutation. It's like 15 minutes. It's an extended sun salutation, but it is just like the best thing ever. Could I be deeper? Could I do more with yoga itself and all it offers? Absolutely.
yeah, but like I said, I think you already do, and I think that's the other piece in terms of inviting people into the practice and kind of getting over that hump is like, you're already practicing. It's not this crazy. It's not like get on your mat for an hour every day. It's conversations like these,
life.
right?
It's living different.
Right. It's being present. It's being attentive. It's self-awareness and reflection. It's breathing. You know, like I used to teach briefly at the Soldiers' Home, and I had a guy who was bedridden, but he was breathing. He was there. He was doing the practice. You know, you don't have to do a headstand. In fact, I cannot do a headstand. I can't do a handstand. You don't have to be a yoga teacher.
Right.
I think that's like the Western versus Eastern issue. Is like in the Western society, it's like to be good at yoga, you need to be able to do all these crazy moves, and why can't you be
put your
more
head
flexible?
or your leg around your neck?
Yeah, and whereas in Eastern philosophy, that's not even it. Like, can you like sit with yourself for even 5 minutes? You know, that's more important. You know,
that's so huge. Like, how many of us are like have whatever the nurse leg syndrome, or just like have to have multimedia things happening simultaneously, study with headphones, with music, or you know, some people are watching movies while they're driving. I mean, it's really scary. I saw somebody doing that the other day, and I was like, whoa. I listen to podcasts, and I kind of feel like, can I just be silent? I do love being silent, and you mentioned audiobooks. That's like the best time to listen to audiobooks while driving. But I really like silence. I don't like commercials or radio or anything like that. I just like silence. And I think it is because of the yoga practice. It really has informed my relationship to myself. And it's becoming I feel like people are seeing the importance of self-care, and you mentioned something in a class recently, or one of the classes, about self-care as flexing or something, like not really self-care, like the difference between like just saying you're doing something, like going to the spa and spending a crazy amount of money is not necessarily self-care. Right. That's being stuck in that colonized mind of that's what self-care looks like, not what your body wants.
Right. Yeah. So that idea of self-care, again, because we live in a capitalist society, has been commodified. So self-care is a spa, a massage, a retreat. And not that any of those things are bad. I love a good massage. But it's, again, about like, how can I take my agency back and know that I can create a space of peace for myself in my life without having to spend extra money or do anything extra. Like, I can find that within me. And that's really hard because, again, we have all been conditioned that we are inherently flawed. So a lot of the struggle that I find, I think even you said this when we started practicing, is that it was too slow. It's too slow, and people are, I'm really encouraging people to slow down, get quiet, start to turn inward. And that is so uncomfortable. And so that, I think, and that's by design, right? Like, we are meant to constantly be distracted and pulled in a million different directions so that we can't come to that peaceful place within ourselves, and that we feel like we need to keep buying to find it. So really, it's more of like a pulling in. I just keep going back to the fact that remembering that we're nature, you know, and that we are natural beings here on this planet. We have been so pulled away by technology and the development of our society, and not that that's a bad thing. Like, we all appreciate a working toilet. But we have gotten so far from it that now it's like there's like, oh, forest bathing. Like, did you know it's good for you to go for a walk? Like, of course it is, you know?
I'm all for going into the forest with other people, but it doesn't have to be packaged.
Right, like, I don't need to pay a guide to go for a walk in the woods. Like, and I think, we just need to remember that we have the agency and the capacity to go do that.
And like, the motivation to do that, I think, is really the line that we're dancing around, because it's like, we know this inherently, that breathing outside and being with the trees that are giving us life, that are, you know, breathing in the carbon dioxide and generating that oxygen for us, and inspiring us, and just like having that unfailing relationship with all the elements, is good for us. Why don't we do it? Why don't I do it more? Right? Like, it's that I'm good enough. I'm fine. Right? Like, are you really? Like, is there anything in your body that's saying you're not fine? Then listen to that.
Yeah. Like, that's hard though, because we have been, again, like, I think we have to be careful about the language, because I don't want to put the blame on any individual.
Absolutely.
You know, it's again, like, the systems in power have made it so that people can't even feel that they are unhappy, uncomfortable, tired, whatever, because they're set on such a go track. One of my students referred to it as tyranny of the urgent.
Wow.
It's like, you know, there are all those things that you want to do and that would be good for you, but, like, you know, the laundry's got to get done, dinner's got to get made, like, and so
the
stuff,
baby's crying.
right? So stuff always happens that we put in front of our own self-care. And again, that's no fault of anybody's, but it's that reframe of seeing that you have value as you are and not just by what you can do, and you deserve to rest like all other living things, and to be able to have that deeper connection to yourself before it kind of takes you over. I always go back to this analogy. I was a little tomboy growing up, and I was a big Batman fan.
Nice.
And I loved the concept of like Batman versus the Joker, because it's this idea that something terrible can happen to you, and it's what you choose to do with it, right? Like Batman lost his parents, and then he chose to become a superhero so that other people don't suffer the way he suffered, versus the Joker, who, you know, the history, depending on whatever comic you're reading, is different, but he became so damaged by what happened to him that he can only cause harm to others. And, you know, that's a very modern version of that Native American story of like the two wolves, and whichever survives is the one you feed, right?
Yeah, Mohawk.
And so I think we are at this point in our lives where we are being pushed to be the Joker because we don't have the time. We're made to feel like we don't have the time to kind of tune in and heal. So we just get more aggressive, and, you know, you hear people saying like, yeah, I was hit as a kid too, like, so what? You know what I mean? Like, there isn't empathy for other people. Yeah. And they lose empathy because they're so hardened by their experience in this constant need to like push past.
And it's competitive,
yes.
right? Yeah, like, oh, well, toughen up, right?
Yes.
I love that analogy. I absolutely love that. Like, could we all be Batman?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Could we all just like heal and then want others to be healed, whole and healthy, complete wellness and lasting peace, right? For everybody. Yes, please.
And let's be realistic, Batman's not perfect. So.
Right. So we don't
not,
have to be either.
Right. It's not like we have to get to this like enlightened state. And I think maybe that's the other part of it is, you know, and even some yoga teachers will present themselves in this inaccessible way where they are so peaceful and so equanimous.
Like Zen.
And it's beautiful, but it's also, I think that gives people a sense of like, well, I'm never going to be that, right? And so...
Or even, I don't want to be that.
Right,
like, that seems so artificial.
Right. And so, like, maintaining our humanity, like, knowing, like, I'm flawed. Like, I am not perfect because I study this. Like, I study this because I am a flawed human, right? And so... Yeah, going back to that analogy, like Batman is by no means perfect, but he's doing the best he can to try to make a difference. And that's really the invitation, I think.
Yeah, I love it. And if we find ourselves being the Joker, like, let's just look at it and try to accept that's where we are and not take it as a weakness or like you said, a flawed reality. It's not a reality. We can change. We can change all the time. Like our cells are constantly healing and regenerating and sending them love. It just keeps happening. So I mentioned in the last episode your newsletter, and I'm just like thinking about how lovely it is with the images and all that. But you shared, because it's like 2026, the aspirations or intentions that you have, and one of them is like these 3 Ps that I really resonate with. Let's see, presence, patience, and peace. You want to say anything about that?
Sure. It's sort of well, patience is like a long-term struggle for me. And presence. So, you know, as a survivor, presence has always been a struggle. Dissociation comes a lot easier. And so I've just become so much more aware, even in conversation, in moments where I'm like kind of leaving. And so, and how that disrupts things, right? Like, I have a habit of, if you make a certain facial expression, I'll stop listening to what you say and create a whole narrative. And now I'm stressed, and now I feel bad because I have not listened to you, so now there is no peace, right? And so by just staying present and having the patience to maybe hear what you're saying in addition to the facial expression you made or something, then that will keep my peace.
Yeah,
That's the hope.
yeah, nice. It's so interesting because similarly, like I grew up with not very healthy households, and my mom was like the queen of facial expressions, and you get really sensitive to facial expressions.
Yeah.
Like they could be life and death, or I mean, it could feel like life and death. It could, for some people, it could be, deprivation. It could be, and deprivation, like withholding of love, withholding of things that, touch or affection of some sort, and that's pretty common for folks who are survivors, or even just like parents who couldn't hold it together for whatever reason. Like it's pretty heavy. So like being really kind to the self when activated, and like having that internal dialogue to say, oh, that happened. Let's breathe. Let's come back to the breath and find the peace that's always waiting there. Yeah. I'm seeing my dog wag a tail. That's always there. Yeah, it's really beautiful.
And I think the other piece of that is that I specifically use the word intention, or in yoga it's sankalpa.
Say again?
Sankalpa.
Sankalpa.
Yeah, versus a goal or a resolution, because again, society already pushes us so much to feel like we need to be doing a certain way, a certain thing, a certain way. We need to constantly fix ourselves. We need to constantly produce. And so when we set these resolutions, these goals, it's another rigid push and pressure on ourselves. And because we set them, then we get very self-critical when things don't go well, because life never goes as we planned it. So by being an intention instead, and I say this in the newsletter, it's more like planting a seed and nurturing that seed. Let's say it's like an apple seed. So you are nurturing that seed and nurturing that tree, knowing you may never actually get to eat one of those apples, but it matters to you, and you know those apples can nourish people beyond you, and so it is what you return to as your daily practice and purpose. And so with our intention, it's like, I want to be a more peaceful person. That's what I'm going to try to do every day when I wake up. And even, again, if you fall back, it doesn't have to be like, oh, I failed. It's just like, the practice of yoga starts now. So now I get to try again.
Yeah, Each new breath, each new day, like Thich Nhat Hanh you mentioned.
Absolutely.
Each new step, right? Yeah, it's so liberating, really liberating. I've been noticing some people, instead of using the word resolution, which you mentioned, using revolution. Like, how am I a revolutionary? How can I just like completely turn things upside down? And I was having a conversation with a friend who was talking about like the Chinese New Year is fire horse. Yeah. Fire horse, right? So there's a lot of intensity, a lot of power. And one of the things that is recommended is we just like get rid of all of our clutter, all of the old identities that we no longer are. And I am telling you, with InnerFortune, just InnerFortune alone, I've got so many journals. And then before I even created InnerFortune, which was 19 years ago, I have journals all the way back till I was 9 years old.
Oh, wow.
And lots of them. I'm like, could I burn them? Could I just like throw them away? Could I recycle them? Maybe, I don't know. Could I organize a party where other people did that together?
Yeah.
Like that feels really cool, scary, but when we do things together, it's easier. So I've been thinking about all of that, all the things, the memorabilia, all the old me. It's not me anymore. I mean, even I've done dozens of community projects. Why do I save the details? Why? Like I don't, like just recycle it all. Like So that's something I'm trying to set as an intention. It's a very, I haven't even watered the seed yet.
That's okay. It's still like, what, the 6th? You got time.
Thank you.
No, that's a really interesting concept, and I'm curious, and I don't know if this is maybe too in-depth for the purposes of this podcast, but as a survivor, if there's a part of you that feels not so good about like letting go, I'll back up. So again, going back to those guided imagery and music things, I have had a vision, a journey where, you know, on one hand, there's my fiance and my friends and like I'm at my wedding, but the child me is like weeping and doesn't want to be left behind. And I had to like turn around and tell her like, letting go of my past doesn't mean letting go of her.
Nice.
And so it's this, like I'm struggling, it's interesting that you mentioned that because I'm struggling with like, yeah, I want to let go of that, but I don't want to let go of that part of me that already felt so neglected. I don't want her to just like abandon her, you know?
Yeah.
So
I am so with you on that. I really resonate, and I do like sometimes get advice from people of like, that's your old story. But I have that relationship as well. It's like, we haven't healed yet.
Right.
There's still work to do. So what if I got rid of something that's going to help us do that? Like me and my younger self, like us.
Yeah.
And so for me, I think it comes to faith that I'm going to be okay even without materials or objects, that all of the things, because like I'm coming into that, I shared it in the last episode, I'm coming into this understanding of all that, like, who was it? Some old white dead guy said, we contain multitudes, right? And so coming into knowing that those multitudes and knowing that it's across time, it's like quantum, all these mind-blowing, really crazy things. But in, like you said, the micro of a moment, it's all there. It's unbelievably all there.
Yeah.
So it's like, how am I attached to the material things? The emotion that was in that journal as I wrote it, right? How can I let go of that? And that's why I'm kind of inclined to think about it in terms of ceremony, because it's like ceremony is celebrating what was there. And it's not like throwing it in the trash, because that's disrespectful to all that went into that. But it's honoring and saying we're ready to move on. And yeah, like I could totally visualize that whole imagery of your child at the wedding. And there's still part of me that would say to that, if it were my child, say, come on, we're grown now, right?
Yeah.
That's not what that child wants to hear.
Right.
It's like, oh, no, I'm just going to dig my heels in. I'm going to like, I'm going to be on the leash, and I'm going to make sure you cannot drag me.
Right, yeah.
Use all my strength against this. No, veto.
Yeah.
So how do you do that? How do you, like, in the yoga practice, like, how are you engaging in that?
That is, I too haven't even planted that seed. So that imagery, that journey just happened a week ago, last Monday. And so I've just been sort of digesting it and trying to figure out, like, what does inner child work look like? I mean, I'm sure there are meditations and things like that I could tap into. And the practice itself, honestly, right, because I found it when I was like 9, 10 years old.
Wow,
and so when I can stop, I think part of the growing as a yoga teacher, I think all yoga teachers can agree, is that you stop practicing as much, which is really a bummer.
Yeah.
And so then I get really rigid, and even when I'm practicing at home, I'm like planning and prepping. But I do teach a group of men at the Western Mass Wellness and Recovery Center, and they like a more active class. And, you know, I mentioned like having to meet people where they're at. So I started with slower classes, and they hated it. So now I do more active classes, but I end with a meditation, and they'll fall asleep. It's great. But in those classes, I get to really play because they want a really active class. And I remember when I started teaching, it sort of felt like Simon Says, you know, I felt like we were just little kids in a playground, like, ooh, look at what I can do. Can you do a cartwheel, you know? And so I kind of feel like that when I'm teaching those guys. And so even the practice can be a way to kind of tap back into her and just get back into like a sense of play, which I think as adults, we all need to find our ways to tap back into. We let ourselves get a little too rigid.
Yeah, definitely. I love how you bring that up, like the gender dynamic of pace and meeting people where they are. And that, you know, again, is such a beautiful skill that you have developed and are practicing and growing and expanding and all of that. Yeah, so like do you see it as a male-female binary of pace, or are you?
No, I think it's more probably just because they are incarcerated and so they can't, you know, they do get to work out, but there's just a lot of stillness, and so they don't want more stillness,
Yeah,
you
so
know.
much sense.
So they
Yes.
kind of need to move first before they can kind of get to that place of stillness. But no, I don't think it's specifically, you know, nothing is a monolith, and so I do think, you know, I've had men in other classes, even in the Survivor series, that really like the slower movement, or would prefer that I even slow down more, talk less. So I don't think it's gender specific. I do think that men, I feel like this will, I might get some backlash, but I do feel like men are underserved in this particular realm. I think it's beautiful that there are so many women who want to create healing spaces for other women. And Thrive is intentionally not specifically for women, because there are men who are survivors, there are men who have dealt with trauma. And again, going back to the Joker or Batman, like, if there is no one there to offer them a soft place, they're just going to harden further, right?
Exactly.
And even though I grew up in an abusive household under a complete piece of shit of a father, I had an older brother who loved me and cared for me, and also grew up in trauma. And so I can see, like, my father is a traumatized individual who just let it burn him up and destroy him as a human. Whereas my brother was a beautiful person who was damaged by trauma and just tried to stay soft and then died because he got cancer. You know,
your Batman and your Joker.
Right. Yeah. So it is like the Batman and Joker. And so that's kind of what I think when I work with these guys is like, again, they're not flawed. Like, life happened to them, or they are flawed. We're all flawed, right? Life happened to them, and I am not better than them because I didn't end up where they are, right? Like, I could have very easily ended up in their shoes.
Yeah. Wow. Ooh. How about we do a heart check-in?
Sure. Sorry, no, I'm talking a lot.
No, I love it. I love your stories. I really, really do. But so it's been 2 years since, there's a couple things I want to say. Oh my gosh, look. I started this only 2 years ago, January of 2024. Wow. And I heard a whisper, Mujeres co labor for peace. And I was like, okay, it's great. It's for women, you know, a show for women, and it's going to uplift and at least nod with deep respect to Black and brown women who have done the bulk of healing work through grief, systemic grief, and really like guided the way. I don't speak Spanish, so I feel like an imposter about that, but I still feel like showcasing women, for me, for the past 20 years, maybe not even that long, choosing women writers, choosing women directors in films, and just like the work that women are doing still feels really critical, because there's such an imbalance, because the dominant heteropatriarchy is still, like, if you go on any streaming channel, you're just going to see people I don't want to name, white male people, and it's like you can't get out of it without a lot of labor. You got to do the work to find the good things that are on these streaming platforms. So I still feel really good about the name of the podcast and the intention, but your point of really, like, it's the access. If PBS didn't have that yoga show for you, or my yoga teacher who was a man who was a yogi, like just like you would expect, super skinny and learned in India, actually took me aside and said, this is really important for you. And I listened. Like, without those moments of access, the world's not going to be what it can be. It's not going to blossom in the way that it needs to, with all of us like feeling sovereign. So that work that you're doing and really seeking out those people, knowing that that is your story, that you want to be the Batman for all these folks who are not going to be, you know, coming to the white female yoga class that is still predominant. It's such an important thing. And I started off doing a heart check-in in every episode. And this Peace in the Body series, we have just been so blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Like, it's been hard to remember to do heart check-ins. But I also think, like, if, you know, this fire horse, you know, new energy coming in with the Chinese New Year, we got to figure out how to, like, manage our fire energy. And so for me, a heart check-in is usually that. Would you indulge me?
Sure.
Okay.
Of course.
So let's just, like, take a moment to take a breath, and everyone, like, take a breath and feel where you are. Where's the body? Oh, wow. Would you like to share first or second?
You can go first.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I dropped into the enthusiasm and the high energy. It feels really good. And then I felt this pulse that's been in my head for a long time. I have tinnitus, and I got like so much sad grief, fear. You know, grief is a combination feeling of sadness, or a mixed emotion of sadness and fear. And I really felt that, like, this pressure in my head. So my heart is in that, like, ooh, and grateful for slowing down. So taking that moment. How about you?
Thanks for sharing that. I'm just feeling really grateful for this opportunity and this conversation. I also feel like, yeah, that, like, energy, and just, like, really expansive and excited. Yeah, so I just feel really, really grateful for the opportunity to be here. And as you mentioned, that grief, I just want to, just extend a little sympathy, a little empathy for you and your loss.
Thank you. Is there anything else you would like to share about Mitra healing-centered yoga, some of the things that are on deck for you?
Sure. I do have the free BIPOC series. It's every other Wednesday at 50 Arrow Gallery here in Eastworks. It is from 6 to 7:30. The series returns January 14th. And every session we talk about a different theme. Honestly, it's become a bit of a book club. I'm a bit of a book nerd, so every theme is based out of a different book. So that's exciting and coming up on the pipeline. And then Thrive will certainly return again in the spring once we don't have to worry so much about the weather randomness. So I will definitely be promoting that more when that occurs. And besides that, Mitra is always looking for collaboration. So if you or anyone you know is in an organization that you feel this could benefit, I work not just with the communities of the organization, but also with the staff. So I'm just partnering with Gandhara right now to offer their staff, their therapists, their psychiatrists, their social workers, some time for self-care as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully they are so, again, like that heart work is so strong. It's that practice of like taking the time for themselves is really what we'll be working on.
Yeah, yes. And what is your website?
Oh, thank you. My website is mitrahealing.com.
Mitrahealing.com. Mitra.
Yes, and Mitra is Sanskrit for one who walks the path with you, or friend. And so going back to that sense where like I never want to be a guru, I never want it to be that like do as I say model. I am just someone else on a healing journey, just kind of walking along it with you.
Oh my gosh, I just got chills all the way up my back. Thank you for explaining what Mitra means in Sanskrit. Angelica Lopez, you are a gift to the world. Thank you so much for joining Mujeres Co-Labor for Peace.
Thank you.
And thanks for watching. Check us out on social media when these episodes actually get there. All right. See you next time.